The Discovery, the human exploration vessel, Pioneer's Edge drifted silently through the Andromeda sector, its hull gleaming against the backdrop of distant stars. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied the tactical display. At 45, she had spent more years in deep space than most people spent in their careers, and her instincts had kept her crew alive through more dangerous situations than she cared to count. "Captain, we're picking up some unusual readings from the Kepler 4042 system," reported Lieutenant Sarah Chen from her sensor station. The young officer's brow furrowed as she adjusted her controls. "The energy signatures don't match anything in our database." Elena moved to Chen's station, her boots clicking softly against the metal floor. The ship's quantum sensors displayed a cascade of shifting patterns that seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. "What kind of energy are we looking at?" "That's just it, Captain," Chen replied, her voice filled with confusion. "The readings are inconsistent. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. It's like something is flickering in and out of our reality." Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's chief science officer, approached from his research station. The tall, lanky physicist pushed his glasses up his nose as he examined the data. "Fascinating. These readings suggest quantum flux patterns, but on a massive scale. It's as if something is existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying we're looking at interdimensional activity?" "Possibly." Webb nodded, his excitement growing. "Though I've never seen anything like this before. The patterns are too complex to be natural phenomena, but too subtle to be artificial technology as we understand it." Engineer Tom Bradley's gruff voice crackled through the comm system from the engine room. "Captain, whatever's out there is playing havoc with our quantum drives. The resonance is causing minor fluctuations in our power grid." Elena made her decision quickly. "Set course for the source of those readings. I want to know what we're dealing with." As the Pioneer's Edge approached the Kepler 4042 system, the mysterious energy readings grew stronger. The ship's sensors painted a picture of a small, unremarkable planet orbiting a dying red dwarf star, but the quantum fluctuations were centered directly on the planet's surface. "Orbital insertion complete, Captain," reported the helmsman. "We're in stable orbit around the fourth planet." The planet below looked desolate from space, a world of gray mountains and silver valleys with no signs of civilization. No cities, no lights, no indication that intelligent life had ever existed there. Yet the quantum readings were off the charts. "Launch probe Alpha 7, Elena ordered. "I want a full surface scan." The probe descended through the thin atmosphere, its sensors recording everything. As it approached the surface, something extraordinary happened. For just a moment, the probe's cameras captured images of vast crystalline structures rising from the valleys like frozen lightning. But when the technicians tried to replay the footage, the structures weren't there. "Sir," Chen said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I think I know why the readings are inconsistent. Whatever's down there exists in quantum superposition. It's real and not real at the same time." Dr. Webb's eyes widened with understanding. "Of course. That's why no other species has detected them. Most alien sensor technology is designed to detect fixed-state matter and energy. But humans, we've always been good at seeing things that shouldn't be there." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you suggesting there's an entire civilization down there that other species can't see?" "It's possible," Webb replied. "Human consciousness has always operated differently than other known species. Our ability to perceive probability clouds and quantum uncertainty might make us uniquely suited to detect beings existing in superposition." The captain made another quick decision. "Prepare a landing party. Dr. Webb, you're with me. Lieutenant Chen, I want you monitoring our quantum signatures from orbit. If we start to lose coherence, beam us back immediately." An hour later, Elena and Dr. Webb materialized on the planet's surface. The air was thin but breathable, and the gravity was lighter than Earth normal. Around them stretched the same gray landscape they had seen from orbit, empty and lifeless. "Sensors are picking up the quantum fluctuations more clearly now," Webb reported, studying his tricorder. The patterns are definitely artificial and they're beautiful, like music made of mathematics. Elena activated her helmet's enhanced visual filters, cycling through different spectrums. Nothing. Then she switched to the experimental quantum perception overlay that Webb had been developing. Suddenly, the world around them exploded into color and light. Towering crystalline spires rose from the valley floor, their surfaces rippling with patterns of pure energy. Gardens of impossible flowers bloomed in fractal spirals, their petals shifting through dimensions. And moving between these wonders were beings of indescribable grace. They were tall and slender, their bodies seeming to be made of solidified starlight. They moved with flowing motions that made Elena think of dancers underwater. Their faces were hauntingly beautiful, with large eyes that held the depth of ancient wisdom and infinite sadness. "My God," Elena whispered. "Webb, are you seeing this?" These years, the scientist had tears streaming down his face. "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed, Captain. They're dying." Elena looked closer and saw what he meant. The beings flickered like candle flames in a strong wind. Their forms wavered between solid and transparent, and with each flicker they seemed to become a little less real. One of the beings approached them, its movements uncertain as if it wasn't sure they could see it. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in their minds rather than through sound. "You perceive us?" The voice carried centuries of loneliness and disbelief. Elena stepped forward, her hand extended in the universal gesture of peace. "Yes, we see you. We're humans, from the planet Earth. Who are you?" The being's form stabilized slightly, becoming more solid. "We are the ethereals. We have dwelt in the spaces between realities for eons beyond counting. But our quantum coherence fails. We fade from all existence, forgotten by a universe that never truly saw us." More ethereals began to gather, their forms flickering like heat mirages. Elena could feel their desperation, their fear of final extinction. "How long have you been dying?" "Time has little meaning in our realm," the ethereal replied. "But by your measurements, perhaps 1,000 of your years. We have watched other species come and go from this system. None perceived us. We believed we would face the end alone." Dr. Webb stepped forward, his scientific mind racing. "What's causing your quantum decoherence?" The ethereal's form wavered with what might have been sadness. "Our kind exists by maintaining perfect balance between dimensional states, but something changed in the quantum substrate of space itself. Perhaps the expansion of the universe, perhaps interference from technologies we do not understand. Our children are born weaker than their parents. Each generation fades faster than the last." Elena felt a familiar fire ignite in her chest, the same protective instinct that had driven humanity to the stars. "How many of you are left?" "Perhaps 50,000 across all dimensional phases. Once we numbered in the millions." The captain activated her communicator. "Pioneer's Edge, this is Captain Rodriguez. I need you to establish a priority channel to Earth Command immediately." "Captain?" Chen's voice crackled through the comm. "Are you finding anything down there?" Elena looked at the ethereals surrounding them, their beautiful forms flickering like dying stars. "We're finding everything, Lieutenant, and we're going to make sure the universe doesn't lose it." Over the next several hours, Elena and Webb documented everything they could about the ethereals. They learned that this dying race had once been the guardians of quantum reality itself, maintaining the delicate balance that allowed the universe to exist in stable form. Their technology was based on consciousness interfacing directly with quantum mechanics, creating reality through focused thought and will. "We shaped worlds with our minds," the ethereal elder explained, its form more stable now that it had beings who could truly see it. "We nurtured life across countless dimensions. We were the gardeners of possibility itself." "And other species never knew you existed?" Webb asked. "A few ancient races caught glimpses of us in their earliest days. But as they developed technology, they lost the ability to perceive quantum uncertainty directly. They built machines to see for them, and machines cannot perceive what exists between states of being. Elena began to understand the scope of the tragedy. An entire civilization of beings who had shepherded reality itself was dying, and no one in the galaxy even knew they existed. Except humans. "Why can we see you when others cannot?" she asked. The ethereal's large eyes seemed to glow with renewed hope. "Your species maintains what others have lost, the ability to believe in possibilities. Your consciousness operates on quantum principles that most technological species have abandoned. You dream, you imagine, you see potential where others see only fixed reality." Elena activated her communicator again. "Tom, I need you to boost our quantum transmitter array. We're going to be sending a lot of data back to Earth." "Copy that, Captain. Though I should warn you, our power systems are still fluctuating from the quantum interference." Dr. Webb was already setting up his equipment to record everything about ethereal society and technology. "Captain, if we can understand how their quantum coherence works, we might be able to find a way to stabilize it." The ethereal elder moved closer, its form becoming more solid with hope. "You would attempt to save us, but you barely know us." Elena met the being's ancient eyes with determination. "That's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. And we never give up on people who are worth saving." For the first time in 1,000 years, the quantum distortions around the ethereal city began to stabilize as hope rekindled in hearts that had given up on tomorrow. The forgotten guardians of reality had finally found beings who could see them, and those beings wore the face of humanity. As Elena transmitted their findings back to Earth, she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity was about to embark on its greatest rescue mission, saving an entire civilization from fading out of existence. And if they succeeded, they would gain allies who understood the very fabric of reality itself. The universe was vast and often cruel, but today it had shown Elena its capacity for wonder. In the flickering light of dying quantum beings, she saw not just a species worth saving, but a mirror of humanity's own greatest strength, the refusal to let hope die, even in the darkest hour. The Salvation. 3 weeks after the discovery of the ethereals, the Sol system buzzed with unprecedented activity. Every major shipyard worked around the clock, and the greatest minds in human science had converged on Luna Station. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood in the main conference room, watching through the massive viewport as hundreds of ships prepared for humanity's most ambitious rescue mission. Admiral Sarah Kingston, Earth Defense Force's highest-ranking officer, studied the holographic displays showing the deteriorating quantum signatures from the ethereal homeworld. "Captain Rodriguez, your reports indicate we have perhaps 6 months before total quantum collapse. Are we certain about this timeline?" Dr. Marcus Webb, now leading a team of 50 quantum physicists, nodded grimly. "The rate of decoherence is accelerating. Each day we delay, more ethereals fade beyond recovery. We've already lost approximately 3,000 individuals since our first contact." The weight of that number settled over the room like a heavy blanket. 3,000 ancient beings, each with millennia of knowledge and experience, simply ceasing to exist. "What do we know about the opposition?" asked General Thompson from Military Command. Elena activated another display showing the diplomatic chaos that had erupted across the galaxy. "The Galactic Consortium refuses to acknowledge the ethereals exist. Ambassador Vextar of the Andromedans called our claims human fantasy and attention-seeking behavior. The Centauri delegation walked out when we presented our evidence." Dr. Sarah Chang, Earth's leading xenobiologist, leaned forward. "Sir, we've now had 47 different human teams confirm contact with the ethereals. Every single human who's used our quantum perception enhancement can see them clearly. But when we bring alien observers, even with our technology, they detect nothing." Admiral Kingston rubbed her temples. "So we're asking the galactic community to commit resources to save a species they literally cannot perceive exists." "Worse than that," Elena replied. "Some species are actively working against us. The hegemony has filed formal protests claiming we're using this fiction to claim territorial rights in their expansion zone." Webb pulled up technical schematics. "Admiral, we can't wait for galactic approval. The quantum resonance chambers are ready for deployment. We've built 7 massive stabilization platforms that should create dimensional anchors around the ethereal population centers. Explain it to me in simple terms, Doctor. Webb gestured to the holographic model. Think of the ethereals as existing on a tightrope between dimensions. They're losing their balance and falling into quantum nothingness. Our stabilizers will give them new tightropes, stable dimensional frameworks they can anchor themselves. 2. Admiral Kingston studied the mission parameters. You're talking about moving our entire deep space fleet to uncharted territory, deploying experimental technology that's never been tested on this scale, all to save beings that most of the galaxy thinks are imaginary. Elena stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, that's exactly what we should do. The ethereals aren't just another species. They're the guardians of quantum reality itself. They've been maintaining the stability that allows our universe to exist. If they die, we might be looking at fundamental changes to the physics that keep everything together. Dr. Chang activated her biological scans. The knowledge they possess is incredible. They understand consciousness at a quantum level that we're centuries away from achieving. They could advance human science by millennia. And more importantly, Elena added quietly, they're people. 50,000 individuals with families, hopes, dreams, and fear. They're dying, and we're the only ones who can help them. Admiral Kingston was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the fleet preparations. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of command. Operation Silent Guardian is approved. Captain Rodriguez, you'll command the mission fleet. Dr. Webb, I want your quantum platforms deployed and operational within the month. The next few weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Humanity mobilized resources on a scale not seen since the colony wars. The quantum stabilization platforms were marvels of human engineering, each one the size of a small moon, bristling with technology that pushed the boundaries of human science. Elena stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned UES Guardian, the most advanced ship in human space. Around her, a fleet of 300 vessels prepared for the jump to ethereal space. The ship's quantum perception array, built from ethereal specifications, would allow the entire crew to see and interact with the dying civilization. Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from the consortium, reported Communications Officer Lisa Park. Elena sighed. Put it through. The view screen flickered to life, showing Ambassador Vexitar's reptilian features twisted in anger. Captain Rodriguez, the Galactic Consortium formally demands you cease this military buildup in Sector 7. Your continued claims about invisible aliens are destabilizing regional politics. Ambassador, Elena replied calmly, we're conducting a humanitarian rescue mission. We've invited consortium observers to verify our claims. We will not waste resources investigating human delusions. Withdraw your forces immediately or face sanctions. The transmission ended abruptly. Elena looked around her bridge crew, seeing determination reflected in every face. Well, you heard the ambassador. Are we going to let that stop us? Not a chance, Captain, replied Chief Engineer Bradley. These quantum drives are purring like kittens. We're ready to show the galaxy what humans do for their friends. The fleet jumped to hyperspace with precision that would have impressed the consortium if they'd been watching. 12 hours later, they arrived in the ethereal system to find a heartbreaking sight. The quantum signatures were weaker than ever, and entire sections of the crystalline cities had become completely invisible even to human perception. Elena and her team beamed down to the main ethereal gathering place, where thousands of the fading beings had assembled. The ethereal elder, now barely visible even with quantum enhancement, approached them. Humans, you have returned. We had begun to believe we had dreamed you. Elena knelt beside the weakening being. We brought help. The entire human fleet is here, and we have technology that should stabilize your quantum coherence. Hope flickered in the ethereal's ancient eyes. So many of your kind. Why do you risk so much for strangers? Dr. Webb was already setting up the first resonance beacon. Because that's what humans do. We help people who need help. It's really that simple. The deployment of the quantum stabilization platforms took 18 hours of careful coordination. Each platform had to be positioned at precise points around the planet to create a dimensional framework stable enough to anchor the ethereals to reality. As the seventh and final platform came online, something beautiful happened. The flickering stopped. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the ethereals' forms stabilized completely. Their crystalline cities blazed with renewed light, and their voices rang clear and strong as they celebrated their salvation. "We are solid," the elder whispered in wonder, looking at hands that were no longer translucent. "We feel the weight of existence again." But the celebration was interrupted by the arrival of a consortium battle fleet. Admiral Vextar's flagship, the Supremacy, took position directly above the human vessels. "Human fleet, you are in violation of consortium territorial claims. Surrender immediately or we will open fire." Elena activated the emergency channel to her fleet. "All ships, defensive positions. Do not fire unless fired upon. We're not leaving until our mission is complete." The standoff lasted 6 tense hours. The consortium fleet held position while human ships formed a protective barrier around the planet. Then something unexpected happened. A new fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Ships from a dozen different species, all flying under no recognized flag. The lead vessel hailed the Guardian. "Captain Rodriguez, this is Captain Zara of the Vegan Free Traders. We couldn't help but notice you were having some trouble with consortium bullies." Elena smiled with surprise. "Captain Zara, what brings you to this sector?" "Word's been spreading through the independent systems about what you humans are doing here. Saving an entire species just because it's the right thing to do? That's the kind of crazy we can get behind." More ships continued to arrive. Refugees from consortium oppression, independent colonies, even some military defectors who disagreed with their government's policies. Within hours, the human fleet had been joined by over 800 vessels from across the galaxy. Ambassador Vextar's voice crackled with rage over the communications channel. "This is an illegal gathering. Disperse immediately." Captain Zara's response was broadcast on all frequencies. "Actually, Admiral, this is a humanitarian zone under independent protection. The consortium has no authority here." The ethereal elder, now strong enough to project its consciousness across space, spoke directly to both fleets. "Let there be no conflict over our salvation. We offer knowledge freely to all who would learn, protection to all who would accept it, and friendship to all who offer the same." Admiral Vextar's fleet withdrew without another word, unwilling to start a war with such a diverse coalition. As the consortium ships disappeared into hyperspace, cheers erupted across the combined fleet. Over the following weeks, something unprecedented happened. The rescued ethereals began sharing their knowledge with anyone willing to learn, not just humans, but all the species that had come to help. Technologies advanced by centuries and days. Medical breakthroughs saved millions of lives. New forms of art and music emerged from the fusion of quantum consciousness and physical reality. Elena stood in the ethereal capital city, now permanent and beautiful beyond description. The elder approached her, its form radiant with health and gratitude. "Captain Rodriguez, how can we repay what humanity has done?" Elena smiled, watching human children play with young ethereals in gardens that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. "Help us keep doing it. There are other species out there that the galaxy has forgotten or ignored. Help us find them. Help us save them." The elder's expression became thoughtful. "There are indeed others. Beings that exist in time streams different from baseline reality. Creatures that live in the spaces between stars. Entire civilizations that phase in and out of this dimension. We know where they are." Elena felt that familiar fire ignite in her chest. "Then we have work to do." 6 months later, the Independent Protection Alliance held its first official meeting in the ethereal capital. Representatives from over 2,000 species and colonies had gathered to formalize their commitment to protecting overlooked and abandoned peoples throughout the galaxy. Elena, now Admiral Rodriguez of the IPA fleet, stood before the assembly. Behind her, the combined flags of 100 worlds flew alongside the simple blue banner of Earth. 6 months ago, We discovered that the universe was letting an entire civilization die simply because most species couldn't see them, she began. Today we form an alliance dedicated to ensuring that never happens again. We will seek out the forgotten, protect the abandoned, and give voice to the voiceless. The ethereal elder, now serving as the Alliance's chief advisor on quantum reality, added its voice to the declaration. Let it be known throughout the galaxy that there are those who see beyond the obvious, who hear beyond the loud, and who fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. As the Alliance Charter was signed by representatives from across the galaxy, Elena looked out at the stars through the quantum crystal windows. Somewhere out there were other species waiting to be discovered, other civilizations in need of help, other wonders that the galaxy had overlooked. Humanity had found its true, calling among the stars, not as conquerors or traitors, but as guardians of the forgotten and protectors of the lost. And with their ethereal allies guiding them to places between realities, they would ensure that no voice would ever again cry out in silence, unheard by an indifferent universe. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but it was also full of people who needed help. And as long as humans flew among the stars, those people would never be alone.